Grab a cup of coffee and settle in because we're about to dive into Genesis chapter 36. If you've ever tried reading the Bible straight through, you know that right after all the intense drama between Jacob and Esau, the stolen blessings, the decades of running, the tearful reunion, you suddenly hit a chapter that looks like an ancient phone directory. It's a massive genealogy. But stick with me. Genesis 36 is essentially the ultimate "where are they now?" update for Esau. It's the origin story of the Edomites, and it's actually packed with some pretty cool details and a powerful reminder of how God operates. So let's unpack it together like a story. So picture this. Esau is Jacob's twin brother. He's the rugged, outdoorsy guy who famously traded his family birthright for a bowl of lentil stew. The chapter kicks off by reintroducing us to his family. Esau married 3 women from the local Canaanite tribes: Adah, Oholibamah, say that 5 times fast, and Basemath, who was actually his cousin, the daughter of Ishmael. Here's where things get interesting. Esau and Jacob had finally made peace, and they were living in the land of Canaan. But there was a massive problem. They were both too blessed. They had so many flocks, herds, and tents that the land literally couldn't support both of their massive farming empires. Isn't it wild to think that their biggest problem was having too much stuff? Instead of fighting a turf war, Esau takes the high road. He gathers up his wives, his kids, all his workers, and all his livestock, and he moves away from Jacob to the hill country of Seir. Esau settles in Seir, and the Bible makes a point to say Esau is Edom. Remember that stew he traded his birthright for? It was red. Edom means red. He got a nickname that stuck so hard it became the name of an entire nation. Once Esau gets to Seir, his family completely explodes. The text gives us a rundown of his sons: Eliphaz, Roel, Jush, Jalam, and Korah, and then lists all of his grandsons, who eventually become the chiefs or clan leaders of Edom. This is basically the establishment of a totally new society. Esau went from being a lone hunter to the founding father of a sprawling tribal network. While we're reading this list of names, there's one guy tucked away in verse 12 that we need to notice: Amalek. He is the grandson of Esau. If you know the rest of the Old Testament, the Amalekites eventually become Israel's absolute worst enemies. They are the arch nemesis who attack the Israelites centuries later when they are escaping Egypt. This little detail shows us exactly where that bad blood started. Family drama has a long shelf life. Next, the camera pans away from Esau's family for a second to tell us about the people who already lived in Seir before Esau got there, the Horites. Esau's family ended up marrying into their family and eventually taking over the territory. Right in the middle of listing these Horite names, the Bible throws in one of the most random historical nuggets ever. In verse 24, it introduces a guy named Anna, and the narrator casually says that he is the one who found the hot springs in the wilderness while he was pasturing the donkeys of his father Zibeon. Imagine being Anna. You're just out in the dusty, middle-of-nowhere wilderness, looking for your dad's wandering donkeys, and suddenly you stumble into a geothermal hot spring. He literally discovered an ancient spa day. Thousands of years later, his legacy in Scripture isn't some great battle. It's the fact that he found the hot springs. The chapter wraps up with a list of the kings who ruled in Edom before any Israelite king reigned. This section lists a succession of 8 kings. What's interesting is that it wasn't a strict father-to-son monarchy yet. A king would rule, die, and then a guy from a totally different city would take over. It was a rugged early kingdom. But here is the most beautiful takeaway from this seemingly dry list of kings and chiefs. God keeps his promises. Way back before Jacob and Esau were even born, God told their mother, Rebekah, that 2 nations were in her womb. We spend so much time in the Bible focusing on Jacob, because that is the bloodline that eventually leads to Jesus. But God didn't forget about Esau. Even though Esau made huge mistakes and wasn't the child of the covenant, God still blessed him. He still multiplied him. He still made him into a great nation with chiefs and kings, just as he promised Abraham and Isaac. Genesis 36 is proof that God's grace and provision are massive. It reminds us that God sees the whole board, and he is faithful to his word, even to the people who aren't the main characters of the story.